The third president of Uganda, General Idi Amin Dada Oumee. Idi Amin Dada was a Ugandan military officer who served as the president of Uganda from 1971 to 1979. He became known as the Butcher of Uganda. Idi Amin was born to a Kakwa father and a Lugwara mother in Koboko. He joined the King's African Rifle of the British Colonial Army as assistant cook to serve the colonial army, and he took part in the British action against Somalia rebels in the Sifta War and the Mau Mau rebels in Kenya. He served in the 21st Infantry Battalion in Gilgil, Kenya colony, and later he was deployed to northern Kenya to fight against the Somali rebels. He was promoted to corporal and became a sergeant. In 1959, he was made a Fande, the highest rank possible for a black African in a colonial British army. He returned to Uganda in 1961. He was then promoted to lieutenant, the first two Ugandans to be commissioned officers. He was then sent to stop cattle rustling between Uganda's Karamoja, Karamojong, and the Kenya Turkana nomads. In 1962, when Uganda got her independence from the British colonial rulers, he was promoted to the rank of captain. And after a year, he became a major. In 1964, he was appointed as deputy commander of the Uganda Armed Forces. Amin was an athlete during the service with the British and in Uganda Army. A tall man, well-built. He was the Uganda light heavyweight boxing champion. He was also a swimmer, and he loves rugby. In 1965, the then Prime Minister of Uganda, Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, and Amin were implicated in a deal to smuggle ivory and gold into Uganda from Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo. Uganda Parliament at that time demanded an investigation into that allegation, and Obote retaliated by imposing a new constitution. He then abolished the ceremonial presidency that was held by Kabaka, the king of Buganda, Sir Hadji Mutesa II, and he declared himself executive president. It was Idi Amin Dada at that moment that led an attack on the Kabaka Palace and forced the king into exile to the United Kingdom, where he remained until his death in 1969. Amin started playing his game very wisely by recruiting members of Kakwa, Lugwara, and South Sudanese and other ethnic groups from the West Nile area. He played that game very wisely. Bothering South Sudan into Uganda army. Some of those Sudanese had been in Uganda since the early 20th century. Some of them came as soldiers of the colonial army, and some came through what we now call the open door refugee policy. That policy started a long time back, even before we got independence. We admitted them into our life, and they became the owner of our homestead, using our kindness that turned into weakness. And up to now, we as Ugandans are paying a heavy price for that kindness. The marriage between Dr. Apollo Milton Obote and Idi Amin Dada began to fall apart. A rift developed between the two giants, and Amin began to use the support he had built within the Uganda army by recruiting more from West Nile and use his contact with the rebels of Southern Sudan, the one he was supporting in their struggle. In 1969, there was an attempted assassination on Obote's life, and he decided to take action, to take control of the armed forces by taking away the power of the commander of the armed forces, Idi Amin. There was rumors that Amin was involved in the attempted assassination of Obote. When Amin learned that Obote was planning to arrest him for misuse of army fund, Amin moved fast and seized power in a military coup on the 25th of January 1971, while Obote was attending a Commonwealth Summit meeting in Singapore. Troops loyal to Idi Amin sealed off Entebbe International Airport and took Kampala. Obote's residence was surrounded. They blocked major roads and took over Radio Uganda. They started accusing Obote government of corruption, special treatment of the Lango region, which in fact was a naked lie. The moment he took over power, crowds stormed the street of Kampala, as we do always whenever a government is overthrown. Amin told the public on Radio Uganda that he was a soldier, not a politician, that the military government is just a caretaker regime until the next election. That was the second lie that most Ugandans love to hear whenever a new leader comes to power. He promised to release all political prisoners and later started arresting more people and throwing them into jail. A week after the military coup, Amin declared himself as the president of Uganda, Commander-in-Chief of the Air Staff, and he announced the suspension of certain provision of the Uganda Constitution. He then set up Adversary Defense Council composed of military officers, and Idi Amin Dada was the chairman. He told the newly appointed ministers and those who joined his cabinets that they are all subjected to military discipline. He ruled by decree, and during his rule, he issued more than 30 decrees. The Achuelis and the Langi soldiers were massacred in Jinja and Barara barracks. So many Achuelis and Langi soldiers and so many civilians began to disappear. Religious leaders, judges, journalists, artists, lawyers, students, so many people lost their life. Among prominent people killed include Benedict Okiwanoka, a former Prime Minister and Chief Justice, Janani Luwum, the Anglican Archbishop, Joseph Mubiro, the former governor of the Central Bank, Frank Kalimuzo, the Vice Chancellor, Makerere University, Brian Kawadua, a prominent playwright, and two of his cabinet ministers, Herinayo Wilson Oriema and Charles Obote Fumbi. He then started his economic war by ordering the expulsion of Asians with British passport holders. That action made some Ugandans very happy, as they consider the Asian group as a source of discrimination against Ugandans. They don't mix with ordinary people, and they consider themselves superior. Amin, at that time, was supported by Western powers such as Israel, West Germany, and Great Britain, who were against Obote for launching the Common Man Charter, a move to the left. In 1979, Amin, dictator Idi Amin Dada government, was overthrown by Tanzanian troops and forces of the Uganda National Liberation Front. But for most Ugandans, we thought that the bloodbath taking place in Uganda since Idi Amin came to power was the beginning. But that is not true. When we got independence, top, actually military leaders, had been assassinated. And up to today, Nobody decided to investigate and publish the finding so that the people of Uganda could understand what was going on. We lost a lot of prominent military officers from Acholi region. Colonel Omoya was killed in Barara in a mysterious accident in 1968. At the time of his death, he was just promoted to the rank of brigadier. He was driving outside Barara, taking one of his lance corporal to Barara Hospital, when another truck hit his car and he was seriously wounded. At that time, he was not dead. He spent 3 days in Barara Hospital, where he didn't get a proper treatment and died in 1969. The patient he was taking to the hospital was poisoned with methanol, which looked like he drank it in the Uganda Waragi. It is believed that all witnesses in this case were killed or eliminated mysteriously to clear up any evidence leading to Omoya's death. And that is not the only. A year before, Idi Amin came to power. Another Acholi brigadier was gunned down in his home in Koro, Gulu, Uganda, together with his wife. They first shot his wife when he was trying to come out to see what was happening. He was gunned down. And rumors was pointing fingers at Idi Amin Dada for the killing. But as far as we are concerned, the bus stopped with the president. In this same case, they initiated investigation, but the report of the investigation is not made public. That is why, to most of us, we believe that the bloodbath that is taking place in Uganda up to today, it started right when we got independence. And it is not going to end until we go back to a drawing table and find out who killed these officers and why, and those who are involved, whether they are alive or dead, have to face justice. You know, in January 1971, when this military coup started, I was at home. That is the first time when I had sporadic gunshots, and we were all confused. As a young man, our life was put on hold. I used to hear the gunshots from my father because he had a rifle for hunting, and he could shoot birds, big birds, from the air. Or when we go hunting, then I hear that sound of the gun. But the one I had in 1971 was completely different. People were running up and down. Some were passing through our villages, going deep inside to avoid being killed. For 2 hours, as a young man, our future was cut short. We were enjoying the fruit of independence. We had a functioning school. We had peace where you could walk, nobody bothers you. We have never seen people being shot dead on the street. But when they took over power, that's when we realized that the life we had when we got independent was gone. The gunshot kept on for over 2 hours. And then we had a voice of a person we knew talking through the microphone that don't run. The army has taken over. They are not going to kill you. And that was the voice of the elder we know, Julius Peter Abbey. He then later became the district commissioner of Gulu. We have a long way to go. And the bloodbath that started after independence, it is going on up to today. And it will go on unless we as Ugandans get back to a drawing table and come with the truth about the killing that started immediately after independence. You see, Amin became consumed in power. There was a time he was provoking President Julius Nyerere that because he's a boxer, he would also fight with one hand tied behind his back and defeat Julius Nyerere. But he made a big mistake because Nyerere fought the very man is a boxer, and he won, sending Idi Amin running, liberating Uganda. So his dream of fighting Nyerere was cut short because Nyerere fought back. It was just like a war between David and Goliath. And Julius Nyerere won. And we thank him for that. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be back.